friends, welcome back to my channel. So like 100 years ago at this point, I filmed a 2021 makeup inventory and I released it, and at the same time I filmed my eyeshadow palette collection, but then it totally got buried in 100 other videos that I had been releasing, and I hadn't had a chance to share it with you yet. So here I am today sharing with you my 2021 eyeshadow palette as it stood at the start of the year. I hope that you enjoy seeing this collection, and I'll also link below in the description box and in the cards my 2020 collection so you can kind of compare and see how my collection has changed over the past year. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, we're gonna start with my big palettes. So the first one that I have is my Tati Beauty, rest in peace, I believe, Tati's channel and this whole makeup line, but this is the Textured Neutrals Volume 1 palette. Oh, I really do like this palette. This is one of the few times I'll say, like, I love the glitter row. I use this a lot, and the glitter really does do an exemplary job at sticking on your lids without much effort or any extra like glitter glue needed. I could care less about most of the sequin shades. Like, I'd be cool if this were just like the matte, the metallic, and the glitter, but top to bottom, gorgeous palette. The mirror is excellent. This one definitely is worth the money and I love it. Next up is, another beloved one. This is my Lorac Mega Pro 2. For those of you who might not know the history of my channel, I spent 2 years panning the Mega Pro 1, and truthfully, I've considered doing this one. I've gotten rid of this entire column because none of these shadows worked for me, but really, looking at the two palettes, this is more in my wheelhouse. It has a lot of cool tones and it has a lot of lid shades, more so than I think the Mega Pro 1 did. And I love Lorac shadows. I just haven't been interested in a 2-year project, but this is definitely a palette that if I would be traveling somewhere, like I took this to Italy with me for 2 weeks when I was on my honeymoon, and it was awesome to have for a 2-week trip because it gave me everything I could ever need. So if I ever did something like that again, I would bring a big palette like this because there's just so much variety. And perhaps if I'm ever in the mood for a 2-year project, this would be where I would go. Another awesome palette. This is the original Jaclyn Hill palette, not to be confused with the iterations they've come out with now lately that are no good. This is a really big palette. You can see here I have X'd all of these shades and need to just pop them out. Probably have a few more like interspersed in here that I could X out. And I could see myself like eventually maybe depotting just my favorites from here because there's no way I'd be able to pan this. This has a freakishly high amount of product in each one of these pans. I know that there have been some people who have panned this or done a project with this, and I commend them immensely because even after 2 years, I don't think I could have gotten through all of this, taking out all of these shades because these pans individually are so big. But the ones that I really love, like I love this shade and this shade here. I love some of these lighter shades. I really like the metallics. The metallics are my favorite. I think that they're really, really beautiful. So I do like this palette a lot. The only other palette that I have is another Jaclyn Hill palette. This is gonna date me a little bit here in my fandom, but this is the Jaclyn Hill Morphe singles, her favorite singles that she liked. This was probably one of the first collaborations I bought into. I have gotten a lot of use out of this. Again, it's been mostly with the metallic shades. I like those the most. I probably could do without like these 6 shades here, probably this shade too, but I could keep this. Again, this is a palette that I think I could dismantle and keep my favorites from, which would help me probably get more usage out of it. But these Morphe shadows, there's just a ton of product in there. I can't speak to Morphe's quality right now because I have never really purchased anything else besides these two, but I really liked this palette too. Another big palette that I have, it feels like most of my collaboration palettes are my big ones. This is the Makeup Revolution Emily Edit palette. This is the only Makeup Revolution experience that I have. I considered panning this for about a minute and then realized that it wouldn't be worth my energy because it's only like a $20 palette. And even though it'd be so satisfying to get use out of these shades, and I like a lot of these shades, I would much rather pan a higher priced item in my collection. I don't know how much longer this has for longevity in my collection. I feel like I like a pocket of these shades, but the other ones I just don't get a ton of use out of. Again, I probably could choose to deconstruct it, but I don't know, it's effort, it's energy, and I don't do that a whole lot. Final big palette we're gonna skip right over is my Pirates of the Caribbean La Rock palette. This is the one I'm currently panning. I'm gonna leave her unopened so that you can see my progress as I get to the end of the month. I don't know if this counts as a palette, but I'm gonna count it just for transparency's sake. This is the palette that I made for myself that some of you I think were surprised I didn't choose to pan this year. I think the biggest reason I opted to not go with this in the end is because I feel like it's very wintry, like it's very icy cool, and I don't know how well that would have worked for my preferences in the summer months. And like, yeah, sure, I could have changed some of these out and put some other ones in, but I'm a purist when it comes to panning a palette. I like to pan it completely before I bring in other shades, and I just don't think I would have loved doing this over the course of a year. So my plan for this is as I use certain shades up in my Pirates palette, I'll probably come find something similar that's now a void and use it, because I will say that in the Pirates palette, there are some core shades that without them, the palette becomes more challenging to use. So I might need to come in here to grab them. But this is another palette that I built. I'm very proud of her. I like a lot of the things that are in here. We're now moving into these sort of longer rectangular palettes that I have. This is the Ulta Jenny Fox Miss Fabulous collaboration that they came out with. I'm actually surprised by how much I like this palette. It's very like orangey warm, which you wouldn't normally be in my wheelhouse, but some of these lighter shades just pair really well and make this relatively wearable for me. Again, I don't know how much longer of life she'll have in my collection because it is getting on the older side, but for now, she's very pretty. Then I have the Balm in the Balm of Your Hand Greatest Hits Volume 1 palette. I consider this an eyeshadow palette, even though it's got a combination of eyeshadows in this row and face products here in this row. I'll be honest, this palette is a little bit difficult for me to use because I don't feel like there's a lot of cohesion with the ability to do like a standalone eye look with these. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to really scrutinize this one this year, especially because like I never think to reach for this for any of these top face powders. I'm not even sure Bahama Mama is like my proper tone because I am just so pale, but we'll see. So I definitely just scrutinize it. This other portion, it's a very well-designed palette. This other portion, I have totally recognized that these are expired and I don't use them, but I wasn't gonna dismantle the palette and almost wreck it because of these two. Since it is encased with its own lid, I do feel like it's okay that they've maybe gone off but haven't bleached over here into these powder products. But similar to the Jenny Fox one, I feel like this one, its time is limited and I have to really make a decision on whether or not this has a life in my collection. Got another Jaclyn Hill palette. Maybe you didn't know I was such a Jaclyn Hill fan. Last year, in 2019, so 2 years ago, I guess, went through this vault collection, and this is the only one I wanted to keep. I will say, like, Gem, probably not going to use that, and Berry Treasure, but Hush Hush, Glitz and Glam, Ballsy, Rockstar, Bling Bling, I love those shades. I don't think I'll ever pan this, but it's a really pretty, like, singular shades for me. And sometimes when I'm craving like super metallic looking colors, I come in for this. Oh, it's a gorgeous one. The rest of them, not a fan. I think this one was called, yeah, this was called the Bling Boss one. Only one that really jived with me. We come to my only Too Faced palette, which is the Sweet Peach palette. This is a palette that I really like. I just don't pull this out enough. I don't think of it enough. I really do enjoy it. I think some of the lighter shades in here are really pretty, and I like this overall a lot better than my Too Faced chocolate bar, which is why this has survived over the chocolate bar. Again, definitely needs some scrutinizing to see if I should in fact keep all of it or just pull out certain shades, but it's very, very pretty. I do enjoy her. Last rectangular palette that I have is the original Naked by Urban Decay. She looks like this. She is basically brand new. She really never gets touched. I need to actually use this and see if I like it, and if I don't, pass it on, and if I do, get more use out of it. But every time I look at it, I think it's a really pretty story, but then I never actually go to apply it. It's a very weird relationship that I have with this palette. Here's another one that I don't know if I should count it, but I'm gonna. This is the ColourPop Disney Designer Collection. The reason why I was torn on if I should count it or not is because I have gotten rid of a lot of the shades in here, and I'm treating this more like single shadows. I am just going to come into here and take a shadow like as I need it. I could see myself needing to do that, especially with the palette that I built. If I were panning that this year, I probably would have had to come in here to get a cream or some kind of matte brown transition color. So I'm counting it, but it really is in just like its last stages of life. This is a palette that I added to my collection this year. It's from Alter Ego. It's the Goddess palette, and it's the Natasha Denona Gold dupe. Oh my God, I love this. This reaffirms how much I like that color story. It doesn't justify my wanting to buy a palette for $125. If she ever came out with that palette, the $65 price range, no doubt I'd probably purchase it. Even though this shade for shade is basically a match, I still think I would really enjoy the quality of it. I like this, but I would say Pandora and Valkyrie, those more like powdery metallic Freya, they're a little bit fussy to use. I do get a little bit of fallout from them. They're very much like just topper colors, but I do really like this palette, and I'm very happy to have added it to my collection. An oldie but a goodie. This is the ColourPop Fame palette. Oh, look at her. She has it all. She's so pretty. I really use her a lot for special occasions, for weekend play. I am kind of a little bit bummed I didn't pick this one for this year, but I kind of just remind myself that this has a lot of sameness. It leads to basically 3 types of looks, and I think I would have gotten bored of that, but for now, she's just a beauty, and I treasure her. Here's another palette that on a whim I added to my collection this summer. It's from Sydney Grace. It's the Summer Days palette, and it looks like this. This shade's a little tough because it came to me shattered, but I repressed it because they rectified the situation by sending me camping as a single, which was a nice thought, but it's kind of frustrating because I can't pop that single into here, so I repressed this. The colors in here are gorgeous. The quality of Sydney Grace is no joke. I knew that based off of a few singles that I had purchased, but having everything in a nice palette, I do enjoy, and this is a really nice, enjoyable palette, so happy to have it. Then we come to another new addition. Oh, Grogu. Oh, how I love this palette. This is a fun palette. I've enjoyed playing with it and getting some fun green looks. You guys have seen me wear this in like a handful of videos. I just think it's really fun. It's the green palette that I've kind of been looking for a long time. And then we have the That's Taupe palette. Oh, she's a good shade. She's a good bunch of shades in here. Be Still, My Cool Toned Heart. It's so nice. And I'm very, very pleased to have added it to my collection. All right, now we're gonna talk, I consider them drugstore, even though they're not all drugstore, but this is the CoverGirl True Naked Nudes palette. Oh, this is a really nice quality, especially these metallic shades are excellent. I need to look at it alongside my Naked palette and decide if I need to keep both of these, because obviously this is meant to be a dupe for the original Naked palette, and I don't think I need both. I just need to play with this and see if I like the quality of it compared to the quality of this one. Then I have this Fleur de Force quad eyeshadow. This is Lunar Rose. I don't even remember where I bought this from. I bought it a long time ago. I don't care for this shade. I love this shade, and this shade is similar to like a cream color, so I could see myself using these two up completely. I have this type of shade in a few different palettes, so I could take it or leave it, but really these two are my pride and joy, and I think if I just wanted to try to pan something efficiently, I could pull either one of these. Then I did a whole review from Stylevana. This is the I'm Mimi multi-cube. What I have in here are 4 shadows, and then it comes with a blush. This is a really impressive palette in the sense that it's quite compact, but you're getting a good bit of product in here. Yes, obviously it's a quad, so all roads lead basically to the same type of look, but I mean, if you're talking about wanting to save space and wanting to have something that you can pull and get a quick look out of, this is that. I really wish they had this in more shades, but it's only in the 1 shade right now. Definitely not the one I would have picked. I would have preferred something more neutral, but it is decent quality. I've got this Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells remake. I just like this. It's so simple and basic, but this lid color is really everything. It's such a pretty shade, and these other combos with it, like it just creates, similar to the Mimi multi-cube, it's just a simple, easy go-to look, and it's just very beautiful. So I really like this one. I have the IBY Beauty Threes Company Trio here. Ugh. This is what it looks like. These are 3 really basic shades. I like this crease either with that as a lid or that as a lid color. It's, again, very simple and easy to use and good quality, which is why I keep it around. Then we have what might be one of the tiniest eyeshadow palettes. This is from Loraqu's new launch. It is the Mini Pro palette in Sparkling, and it looks like this. I have been playing with this and I'm not in love. These bottom shades here, they're pretty on your eye, but they're fussy. They're hard to get on. I like the look of them in the end, but they look real beat up because you have to really get in there to pick up sufficient product to then get it onto your lid, which I don't really love. So far this isn't wowing me the way Loraqu's formula normally does, which is kind of a bummer, but to be fair, they don't have these types of shades in any of their older palettes. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And then lastly, we come to the big kahuna. I feel like this is the Death Star entering into my palette collection. It's so big, so black, and this is what it looks like. So truthfully, it might look a little bit more condensed because I've taken out shades from this and put them into the custom palette that I made. And when I was doing that, I ended up, I think, taking out maybe 8 or 9 shadows and just decluttering them because I didn't end up really liking them. I will say that this year, my big plan is to go through this side of the palette and really make some decisions about these face products that I have, because there's no way that I'm gonna need all of these blushes in my life compared to what I currently have in my blush collection. And on top of that, I've got 2 blushes here, these 2 blushes, these 2 are highlighters, and then I've got a bronzer here. So I need to just go back through, maybe spend a few weekends using just this section and whittling this down, because as much as I think I want all of these, I just don't need them all. So I have to make some tough decisions, which will help sort of make this palette feel less bulked up, because again, there's a lot of singles over here too. So I just need to go through and be a bit selective about what gets to stay. And I'm going to start first with this left side of the palette. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing my eyeshadow palette collection. I have to say, I'm really happy with my current collection. I do think there is some areas where I might trim it down a bit more, but I'm really feeling satisfaction out of my collection and feeling like I really am using most of what I own, which is awesome. As always, I would love to know your thoughts on my collection. Do we have any of the same eyeshadow palettes? Do you feel like I'm missing an eyeshadow palette that you think I should definitely have in my collection? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and being here, and I'll talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.